Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? Let's get back to Iraq. Solder was supposed to meet with the coordinated framework, along with Al-Qademi and the United Nations liaison, Miss Blasshart. Well, somebody didn't show up. That's right. Solder, why would anybody be surprised at that? That'd be like walking in the lion's den. You don't know if being over there in the territory of the coordinated framework would be safe at all. I sure the heck wouldn't go. There is some interesting things to bring up that we must mull around. As long as it's been going on, I'm curious about what direction this is going to head in. Before we get started, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, go check out our friends over at Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description. If you're a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and you will get a free half ounce of silver. This is funny. Look at this. Was sent to me. What about the 800 numbers, Tier 1, Tier 2 redemption centers, special codes, and people on standby? Wake up, idiot. You've been lied to. Listen to Pimpy and stay grounded. Stop getting high on hopium. That is awesome. OPEC Plus agrees to a small cut in oil production. Now, the weird thing is this. The plus on OPEC is Russia. You can see right here. OPEC and its allies, led by Russia, agreed on Monday to slightly reduce oil production to support prices that fell due to fears of an economic slowdown. Well, wait a minute. I'm confused. United States is supposed to be leading the way with sanctions against Russia because of their invasion in Ukraine. So what do we see happen? Russia cuts off oil over there to Europe, putting a lot of people's lives in danger. That would definitely go along with the plan about reducing the world's population, but let's just say, for the sake of it, it's not part of that plan. If Russia is pissed off about being kicked out of the SWIFT system by the United States and England, he has Europe in the palm of his hand. They need his oil. But if you look at this, he's part of OPEC Plus. Why wouldn't Russia, along with their allies, just cut off the United States from oil from Saudi Arabia? Or just like he did Europe, why not just cut off the United States? They're already in an energy crisis, according to the powers that be. You see, this would definitely make Biden look bad if he was truly an ally of Trump's. But all Putin would have to do is just talk to his people in OPEC and say, look, make sure you get paid in your currency, make sure it's backed by gold, and do not give any oil to the United States. That would cut off Europe. That would cut off the United States. That would severely cripple both nations really bad. Gas prices would be astronomical. It would absolutely crash the economy in both countries. Or if they wanted to drain these countries of their gold, tell them the only way they can get the oil is to pay in gold. I mean, seriously, Russia can screw the United States over big time. What would happen then? Biden would be forced to reverse all the things he did when he first got into office. So the pipeline that Trump started, he would have to fire it back up. The coal mines that Trump opened, he'd have to open them all back up. Fracking that Trump allowed, he would have to start offering it again, just so we can get energy here in the United States. Biden never should have stopped those things in the first place. We went from being the number one exporter of energy to the number one importer of energy. So I don't know, there's too many things out there to make me think this thing is too wishy-washy. The so-called war between Russia and the Ukraine, something's not right about it. Each country has different ways that they can really screw over the other, and neither one of them seem to be doing anything of real significance. Oil producers woke up production by 100,000 barrels per day, which is just 0.1% of global demand for the month of October, and also agreed that they will meet any time to adjust production before the next meeting scheduled for October the 5th. The decision basically maintains the status quo, as OPEC has been noticing extreme fluctuations in oil prices affected by multiple factors in both directions. Yeah, I mean, the United States is essentially manipulating all the markets, stock markets, precious metals markets, commodities markets, and other countries are getting tired of it. Saudi Arabia, the largest producer in the organization of the petroleum exporting countries, last month signaled the possibilities of cutting production to address what it sees as exaggerated drops in oil prices. Yeah, I agree. Benchmark Brent crude has fallen to around $95 a barrel from 120 in June on fears of an economic slowdown and a recession in the West. Well, what do you mean? According to the Biden administration, there is no recession. It was also affected by the possible increase in supplies for the return of Iranian's crude to the market if Tehran can revive its 2015 nuclear deal with world powers. Iran is expected to add 1 million barrels per day to the supply, or 1% of the global demand, if sanctions are eased, although prospects for a nuclear deal appear less clear on Friday. However, signs from physical markets suggest that the supply remains tight, and many OPEC countries are producing below targets, while new Western sanctions threaten Russian exports. Obviously, if the oil prices go up, this also affects the value of the Iraqi dinar. No, you're not going to see any real significant jump or increase, not yet. With the increase of money that will be coming into Iraq, as you know, it will increase their foreign reserves. They continue to add large amounts of gold, it seems like every month now, which will only do what? Secure the Iraqi dinar, strengthen it. No end to the crisis as Iraq's PM in second round of talks. So here we go. Al-Qademi started a second round of talks today. It aimed at resolving the ongoing political crisis between rival Shiite blocs, but the representatives of an influential cleric failed to once again attend the gathering. The seat reserved for al-Sadr's party was empty as Prime Minister Al-Qademi met with al-Sadr's chief political rivals in the Iranian-backed camp. See, that's the problem right there, Iran-backed camp. I don't think Sadr trusts that. As well as the President Saleh and UN Representative Ms. Blassard. Sadr's continued absence from the talks will likely render futile Al-Qademi's efforts to broker a solution to Iraq's 11-month crisis. The participants renewed their invitation to Sadr's camp to participate in the meetings according to the statement of Al-Qademi's office. The participants agreed to form a technical committee to develop a roadmap to find common ground and hold early elections. Yeah, I don't know. You know, I just don't think they're going to come up with any solution. I just don't see that happening. We're now in the 11th month and nothing has been accomplished. But this is happening to governments all around the world. I keep saying that because when I see certain actors that represent governments around the world doing what they're doing, it makes you question what's really going on. I mean, come on, you're going to try telling me that Russia, one of the most powerful militaries in the world, just couldn't take out tiny little wimpy Ukraine in like 3 days? Yeah, okay, whatever. Anyway, it says Sadr and his political rivals, the Iran-backed Shiite groups, have been at odds since after last year's parliamentary elections. Sadr won the largest share of the seats in the October vote, but failed to form a majority government. He has demanded early elections and a dissolution of the parliament. His Iran-backed rivals in the coordinated framework, an alliance of mostly Shiite parties, agree in principle to holding early polls, but disagree on the mechanism. Sadr is demanding that the judiciary dissolve the legislature, but his rivals are insisting the parliamentary should convene to do this. They are also at odds over the current electoral law that would govern the polls and which the coordinating framework wants amended. Al-Qademi, who held a first round of talks on August 17th, has threatened to resign if political blocs fail to find a resolution which would deepen the crisis. Iraq's caretaking finance minister resigned last month. So if Al-Qademi resigns, I think that's it for Iraq. You're going to see them go to war with each other. The one person I think people feel pretty comfortable with is Al-Qademi. And if he leaves his position, man, that's just really bad news. Sadr's loyalists clashed with Iraq security forces last week after earlier protests by his supporters turned deadly in the Iraq heavily fortified Green Zone, the seat of the government. At least 30 Iraqis died and over 400 were wounded in fighting, which brought Iraq to the brink of street warfare. The hostilities came to an abrupt halt after Sadr commanded his loyalists to withdraw. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about when you have that kind of influence. Sadr's supporters stormed the parliament building July 30th to prevent his rivals from forming the government. The government formation process has been stalled ever since. So talk about being stuck in the pickle. The government is not going to get formed, not with the way things are right now. The truth of the matter is Sadr won the majority. He should have been able to form the government that he wanted. But the way the laws had been passed, it didn't allow for that to happen. To add fire to the issue, the chief Supreme Court person is friends with the Maliki people. So Sadr couldn't get the type of rulings he wanted from the courts because of that. So Maliki can't form a government. Sadr can't form a government. You can't force these people into early elections if they don't want to. The court's looking like they're not going to get involved. So what the hell is there left to do? Seriously, what is there left to do? Now, I'd made the suggestions that both parties need to back out and just go ahead and let the people decide who the president and the prime minister is and take it from there. That's what should be done. But that's not going to happen. So until this mess gets cleared up, you're not going to see any real changes to the Iraqi dinar. Okay, I know people don't want to hear that. I know you're being told all kinds of BS by other people, but it's a lie. How are you going to change the values of the Iraqi dinar when you're too reliant on oil to provide money for 95% of your government budget? That hasn't changed. They were well on their way of starting to build private and public sectors until this mess happened. Now you can't get a budget. You haven't formed a government. You're on the brink of civil war. Although Iraq is benefiting from high oil prices, they continue to increase their federal reserves at the same time increasing their gold holdings, which are both very good. But again, you still have a major obstacle right here in your way, and that's the government. Without a secured government, without a secured economy, you got to get the uprisings to stop, the protests to stop. That's not going to happen. I know this is a rough ride. Eventually, it will end one way or the other. You let me know what you think. I look forward to hearing from you. I'm out.